why should you try mediation? Well, there's a number of reasons, and I'd like to briefly discuss those. First and foremost, in mediation, you, the parties, the disputing parties, are in control of the outcome. In other words, any agreement reached is because it's something that's acceptable to everyone. Now, this is very different than if you go through the legal system, where you're turning your fate over to the trial court or to the jury to make the decision as to what is right and what is wrong and what is going to happen. In mediation, it's only if you agree to it that it will come into being. A second reason that mediation is so successful is that it is a confidential process. In other words, when you come to mediation, any discussions that occur during the mediation are entirely confidential and cannot be used in litigation. The only thing that can be used ultimately and becomes a legally binding document is if you reach an agreement that will be reduced to writing, and that becomes legally enforceable. So, if you go through mediation, and say the worst happens, that you do not come to an agreement, it all disappears, and it's as if you had never gone to mediation before. Nobody can talk about what occurred in the mediation, and then you go through the legal process. But 80 to 85% of the time, parties that come to mediation do reach an agreement. And in fact, studies have shown that that rate is even higher if both parties voluntarily come to mediation prior to litigation. The third reason to come to mediation rather than litigation is the cost. Litigation in our society today is extremely expensive. But if you go through mediation, even though there is a cost, it is much less expensive.